roster that sits at the Intel Extreme Masters Katowice. My name's Kyle Harris, alongside Rotterdam to start things off. How are you doing, my friend?
I'm excited. My first official cast of the year. I mean, I casted a couple of games the other day just from home, an online tournament, but always a little bit different. It's always fun when you step into that plane and you go to the location to actually cast some games. Even though the players are not here, it feels good to be back in my I would say trusted studio environment.
That's right, back in Katowice, we've been flown out here to bring you all of the games, all of the action from this double elimination bracket. Let's take a look at the players that have qualified so far for the Intel Extreme Masters Katowice, as we do have 6 Koreans from across the board, from the Eastern servers, as we have the Korea servers going on, and that's a lot of big names already qualified.
Yeah, of course. We gave a direct invite to the WCS Global Final champion of last year, Ro16, and I think everybody's really looking forward to watching Rogue in action at the Intel Extreme Masters Katowice, because the year didn't start off very well for him. Was recently eliminated in one of the big tournaments in Korea. No spoiler, but you know, I think people can kind of figure it out.
Yeah.
And then the first qualifier, it didn't really have too many surprises. Innovation, nobody was surprised. Dark, nobody was surprised. Impact, well, James, at least I was a little bit surprised.
Yeah.
And I think some of you guys out there as well, but awesome performance by that young man.
That's right, and of course, Classic and SOS round things out for our 6 Korean qualifiers so far. Classic for me in particular, after doing so well in that first qualifier, just being pipped at the post by Innovation and Dark. A bit unfortunate for him, but he was able to kind of succeed, and in valiant effort as well in that second qualifier. He has stomped the competition.
Yeah, he's looking more and more like the Classic of 2015 and 2016, I'd say.
Yep.
I feel 2017 was a little bit of an off year for him. Obviously, it wasn't all bad, and he still had amazing games, and he always had a decent run. He always had a decent showing. But if you ask me right now on the spot, what was the best run of Classic in 2017? Nothing really jumps to mind, because it wasn't as convincing as some of the other years. But I must say, of those qualifiers, what I saw as well, Classic is looking fine. And with the way that things are currently going in StarCraft, I mean, Katowice is what? It's like 3 weeks from here, right? It's not even that far away. I think Classic comes in as one of the top contenders for real.
Yeah, we'll see how he's going to be able to fare. Now let's take a look at the bracket that we have for the European server qualifiers. And I specify server, very importantly, because this will be played on European servers, but it was not restricted to just European players. So we do have a little bit of spattering of some Korean influence in there to start things off in this round of 16.
Yep, we've got 4 Koreans. Now, one of them has, I believe, currently in America. True, it could also be that he's actually in Korea, because he travels back and forth quite a bit. He's going to go up against Nerchio in the first round. I really love this bracket, James. I'm excited to be covering these games. Even that first matchup, right? Elazer versus Hellraiser. I know Elazer is a big favorite there, but I think it's awesome to see a name of Hellraiser here. He's one of these players that has been very active in these online competitions lately, and he's really been making his way through the ranks, just like we've seen other Protoss players do in the past, before becoming, you know, a real powerhouse in Europe. So I'm looking forward to see maybe Hellraiser take a couple maps of Elazer. Then, of course, a couple of great matchups. I mean, Showtime Stefano, awesome. Harstem Nerchio, awesome. Drogo against the Maru on the European server. I'm pumped. And Creator Zero, I mean, if Korea, yeah, this is just awesome.
Yeah, a lot of good games. We're going to be best of 3s all the way until the qualifying matches, which will be best of 5s, all importantly. And as I said, there's 3 spots up for grabs. So basically, the 2 upper semi-finals are best of 5s to determine who is actually going to be moving on. And then the lower final, I believe, is a best of 5 as well for those 3 spots. So good stuff.
Yeah, good stuff. We're going to have a lot of amazing StarCraft coming your way tonight. And the first series of the night is already ready. We decided to go for a real classic matchup here, as we're looking at the main base of the Polish Zerg. It is Nerchio.
Production, very happy to be covering Nerchio here.
They forced us, guys. They strong-armed us.
That's right.
They said no drinks and snacks if you guys don't start off with a Polish player. We're like, all right.
And going up against our Dutch player down to the bottom right. In the pink, it is Harstem. And this was the player that Rotti strong-armed into the broadcast.
I'm excited to see Harstem in action. We, of course, all know the never-ending meme of the year of Harstem. And I think it's safe to say that 2016 really kind of was the year of Harstem. He won 2 international tournaments. That was amazing for him. Won a Home Story Cup, won the Gold Series Invitational over in China as well. Unfortunately, 2017 didn't really go his way. He started the WCS year off all right, but then had 2 weaker performances, had a decent one at the end. But overall, it wasn't really Harstem's year. Nerchio is consistent as ever. Made it to the Global Finals, made it into a final, made it into a semi-final. Nerchio is just it's amazing how consistent that guy has been for the last, I mean, I would almost say 7 years of StarCraft.
Yeah, it felt like in the WCS circuit in 2017, all of the non-Korean levels just went up a peg. And for Harstem, that got a little bit troublesome in some of those WCS events, but he can never be really counted out. He's very, very strong when it comes to defensive play against Protoss, against Zerg even, I should say. But Nerchio's not normally the most aggressive, but he can mix in some of the aggression. Yeah,
Nerchio's always been a fun Zerg to watch in this matchup, even when I feel like 99% of the Zergs are playing in a very standard way. If everybody's going Hydra Bane, Nerchio's a guy that, yes, he will play Hydra Bane too, but at the same time, he can surprise us with a couple Lurker drops or a couple Hydra drops. I think nobody will ever forget his amazing game against Showtime of the Grand Finals of WCS Tours back then, Season 2 it was in 2015. That game was straight out of like a promotion clip for StarCraft, you know, where you have one of those clips where it's like, this is how amazing this strategy game can be. It's like, yeah, but that's not how the real games go. Actually, it did go. So I'm curious to see how Harstem is going to play it. He's been kind of vocal about this matchup. Doesn't seem to be too happy. The TLDR of what some of the European protesters have been saying is that if Zerg does everything right, you can't win.
Right.
I don't think it's that black and white, James, but I'm looking forward to see how this best of 3 plays out.
Let's see. If you're going up against someone like Nerchio, you've got to cross all those T's and dot all those I's because he is that damn good when it comes to it. He's already getting himself his 3 base set up. He's going to be going up against the Stargate opener, which there will be a Stalker to eventually start pushing away this Overlord, but it's getting dangerously close to being able to spot that. I don't think, does it get there?
I think it will absolutely get there. It will spot the Stargate, but I don't think this comes in as a surprise for Nerchio, because I think the build that Harstem really likes is Oracles, sometimes 2 Oracles, into like a Prism and also a Twilight Council follow-up, and then he does some sort of an Archon Arrest. You know, it's like a late Archon Arrest. Instead of going straight for the Archon Arrest, he actually likes to go for a couple of Oracles first. And if the Zerg players don't rush up to a layer, if they actually waste their gas on something else, other than Zergling speed, which is quite standard, then sometimes it can really cause them a lot of troubles. But I do think that Nerchio is going to go for that very quick layer, and then I'm not sure if Harstem decides to go for a build like that.
Already getting his Spore Crawlers down to be able to greet this initial Oracle, which is now flying across the map. And I think he already has Queens positioned at every single hatchery as well anyway, just to complement that and push it back. The one's just about to pop out here, so should be okay. Might have to morph one drone into a Spore or an Extractor here if he wants to kind of keep it alive. But
yeah, maybe even 2. I think he might be able to get 2 kills. Ooh. Well, he did do what you said, James, but he also ended up losing one of them. Obviously not the end of the world. The days where Oracles would fly in and kill 5-6 drones, they have been kind of, they kind of pass, you know. These days players are just too good. At least those Spores delayed the attack a little bit because Nerchio had to use his, some of his drones on those Spore Crawlers. So the layer is not 3 minutes 40 seconds, you know, it's 4 minutes and 10 seconds, makes it a little bit later. Well, Harstem is going to follow this up with a relatively quick Resonating Glaives. Now, of course, we're going to keep a close eye on that work account and also on, as Todd would be whispering to us from the other room, l'explosion de gate. Because is this just 3 gateways? Or is this a good old gateway explosion where he goes up to 8 and just tries to win the game with a bunch of adepts?
Another explosion on the other side, of course, which is in drones. 10 are in production at the moment for Nerchio, so he's just powering up at the moment across these 3 bays, getting that creep spread going as well, so he's going to have a bit more vision and hold across those 3 bays.
So before all the fighting really takes place in this first series of today, James, who are the players that you're looking for in this qualifier? If you have to pick 3 players to make it out today, who will be the 3 players to qualify for Katowice?
Do I have to pick the usual names that I would go to? I suppose someone like Cyril is always someone that pops out for me.
Yeah.
I would like to see Showtime go far, although, you know, there was those moments in 2017 where it was a bit sporadic results-wise. So I'm hoping in 2018 it's going to be a bit better for him. And then from there, maybe a Korean? I'm not sure really where we're going. Nerchio is another name that really pops into mind. What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. Which of the Koreans? Maru or?
Maru's the big one. Yeah. But beyond that, I don't know if Trap or who else is in there? Creator?
Yep. Trap, Creator, and of course we've got True as well.
Yeah. Oh yeah, True.
All right, so Harstem is splitting up 2 adepts that are going to try to hit the 3rd base. And often the main threat looks this big adept army. I don't think there are any Banelings in place. I think he could have let that finish, even though the Zergling count is very high. Let's see if the other 2 adepts in the 3rd base can do some damage. Good old Observerino. I'm not sure if they can hear us actually or not. Drones are dying because Harstem managed to split off 2 adepts from his main army. But there was a Spore Crawler, or excuse me, a Spine Crawler as
yeah.
well. Well done by Nerchio. Harstem needs to do more than he's done so far. And the longer he waits, the less likely it is that he will be able to do more. Nerchio, with the surround, is going to clean up almost all of these adepts.
Yeah, very well done there. The fact that he gets the surround, and a few of them are going to get gunned down, but it doesn't really matter. Nerchio was able to hold that off with the surround on the Zerglings, holding them in against Banelings that didn't have centrifugal hooks. So very important cleanup there for Nerchio.
That was funny as well. For Kev, that was obviously quite bad. Harstem, that is. And then he tried to pick off that last creep to him where he's like, well, at least I can deny the creep. And then the Oracle runs out of energy. That's one of those moments where you're like, oh, come on. Get a break. We've got the Colossus transition behind this. But this game so far has just not gone the way that Harstem would have liked. If you make that amount of adapts, obviously forcing out units is some sort of damage against Zerg this early on. But he wanted to do way more with those adapts. Maybe delay a fort base or get, 12, 14, 16 drones. None of that happened. So this is not a very pretty position to be in as a Brothers player.
He's swapping a unit at least here to keep this fended off and staved off. And he even wants in a sentry just to throw a force field down if this gets a little bit scarier.
Oh, come on. Look at that Stalker. Why didn't he kill the Stalker?
I would have liked a dead Stalker, personally.
Yeah, that Stalker has like, if you end up losing like 5 or 6 links already, it had 4 health. It's 1 hit. I guess maybe he just picked it up in time. Now we've got a Phoenix on the production tab as well. I guess he's just going to use that to scout. Yeah. Wants to make sure that he knows what he's playing against. But this is one of those moments where you could potentially play against everything. Lurker then is on the way, so there's a good chance we'll see a bunch of Lurkers. But there's also that Spire. Is that Spire going to be used for Corruptors? Or eventually is he going to transition into Mutalisk? Which would be pretty damn good, because what does Harstem really have that's good against Mutas? There is no Blink, there is no real Phoenix on the map other than that one Scouted Phoenix. A lot of things would cause Harstem a lot of trouble here.
And for Harstem, almost a consolation prize on those drones. So now he has to remake the Oracle, which is what I wanted to point out. Losing that one to the Hydras just then means he didn't have the Revelation to be able to spot the Lurkers when they're eventually going to come along. Does he know that that's the transition, though? I guess he must have some star sense on it.
Yeah, I mean, he's been playing a lot. Harstem recently did an interview where he also said he pretty much always plays a lot. So it's not like he's out of practice. He obviously knows that Lurkers are very strong and very popular in this matchup right now. But if you just look at Harstem's point of view, if you would from Harstem's point of view, what does he really see? He really doesn't see much at all. He doesn't really have any map presence. He's going to send a Phoenix out every now and then. Doesn't know about those stack buildings, as our observer is showing us as well. Hallucinated Phoenix is trying to kill an Overlord. Well, let me tell you, James, it's going to take a while.
Yeah. Almost an infinite amount of time, actually. Storm on the way as well for Harstem at the back, as well as +2 weapons. With now Corruptors entering the field here for Nerchio. So he's rounding out just a phenomenal army at the moment and really kind of being undeterred from the side of Harstem. Yeah,
with the Corruptors there as well, I think that Harstem is going to have an incredibly tough time keeping his Colossus alive. How is he supposed to do that? If he walks forward, he's going to run into Lurkers. But if he doesn't do it, his Colossus are going to be sitting ducks. And if he pulls them back too far, well, then those Lurkers are going to get closer and closer towards his expanse and his mineral lines as well. So I don't know, it just feels that Harstem is playing almost a lost game, but he does have Storm on the way, and he's producing Immortals now, so Immortals and Storm, they can make anything happen against the ground army of the Zerg that doesn't have Broodlords in it.
Yeah, let's see if it's going to be tough stuff here for Harstem in a moment. So he's rounding out his army as well, as you're mentioning. He's getting a lot of tech available to him, even adding on some shield batteries, so playing very defensively across these 4 bases to start things off, because I think he knows that if he's going to push out into the middle of the map at any point in the next 5 minutes or so, Nerchio's going to greet him very aggressively with the army he's forming.
Yeah, I'm almost surprised that Nerchio's playing it as passive as he did. He really felt quite rich to me throughout this game. Of course, he was forced to make a lot of links and banes to deal with those adapts, but it just felt like he has been cruising and he has had quite a bit of freedom ever since those adapts have died. But that was a solid 4 minutes ago. He's really been taking his time. He's morphing a lot of Banes now. This is some sort of old school, almost Hydra Bane, which he has to be very careful with. Sentries, Archons, Immortals, all units that are very, very, very good in absorbing Baneling damage.
Reveals exactly where the Banelings are now, so he can anticipate throwing down force fields if he needs to, but this is a 4th base that's very exposed. He's going to have to give up that 4th base looking at that. There's no way he's going to be able to reinforce by the looks of things to be able to hype this out. He's moving up to this top left to try and stop some of the units coming through, but this is easy pickings for Nerchio.
Nerchio is making this very annoying. That's a good little recall there. I think a bunch of the probes were safe, perhaps. Yes, as we can see. I mean, I must say, I like what Nerchio was trying to do there. He's like, we have a fight here. Basically, he was forcing 3 fights at once.
Yeah.
But Harstem is just like, you know what? I'm going to sacrifice that 4th base. You just invested an insane amount of resources into Banelings, and if I survive for another minute or so, I will have an answer against your Baneling count.
This might do a bit of damage. Storm should be able to deter this eventually, but it dies very quickly. If he just stays here and sacrifices some of the corruptors, he's going to be able to get it, and he picks it off. Big eco damage being done by Nerchio.
Did you see that clip the other day on Reddit from TLO, one of the most creative players I've ever seen? He made a bunch of corruptors against the Protoss player, I think, who had Colossus at first, and then the guy's like, well, I'm just going to stop building Colossus, now your corruptors are useless. But Dr. Dario, being Dr. Dario, is like, they're never useless. He split up all of his corruptors and he killed 3 Nexus at the same time.
Wait, how many did he put on each Nexus? Like
4 or 5, yeah.
Oh.
And there was barely any anti-air. There was like 1 Void Ray. There were 4 Void Rays on the way. I mean, it's the caustic spray is kind of an underrated ability. It's just a lot of Zergs don't like making corruptors because they feel they are useless if they've done their initial job. But that's still an underrated ability. It does a lot of damage.
I feel like it's the initial push of the damage of it, but of course it ramps up over time. And when you see it at the start, you're like, yeah, it's fine. But then it really starts getting fast. You're like, oh, please help. So it really is able to kill them off very quickly.
Small little Zergling run by, getting a couple of probes. 9 probes did go down. I think the armies are clashing in the left side of the map. Storms raining down over all these Banes. This looks like an alright fight at first for Harstem, as long as he has enough anti-air. Well, he's going to lose all of his Colossus. But can Nerchio stop this ground army? That's the ground army that you can't stop at.
There's 50 Lings on the way. They're going to have to deal with this. 3 Lurkers morphing in at the back as well. He sacrifices this base, knowing that he can't really hold on to it. With the standing force he has at the moment here, Harstem is going to move down towards the 4th base as well as 3rd base locations. But all of those Lings and Hydralisks are about to pop out, Roddy.
Yeah, and it's going to be annoying for Nerchio, right? Because his units will come in from every angle. Now, obviously, if you do that on purpose, it's awesome. But with the Lings, you have to be careful. Lings are awesome against Immortals if they can surround them. But with Archons in the mix as well, you want to be careful with your Zerglings.
He had a few more Zealots coming in as well here. That's the perfect unit to be able to try and counteract some of this extra flood that's coming in from the front. Those Lings not really doing too much at the front. Saves a lot of his Immortals just backing off here. But I think he realizes he can't go much further. The Lurkers are out.
If only he had an Observer there all along, he would have at least been able to deny so much vision. And imagine if there was a War Prism in the mix here with a few more Zealots there, or a few more High Templars for a couple of additional Storms. Okay, the High Templars are actually coming in, but this is dangerous, man. Like, he doesn't really have vision up those ramps. He just lost an Archon and a High Templar. The greatest Spire is morphing. I think it's safe to say Harstem is on the clock, but he's also getting a Fleet Beacon. Yep,
so trying to get the long stay transition going on here, but still in the middle of the map at the moment. He has an Observer there, so trying to clean up some of this creep. And if any Lurkers kind of overstep the mark a little bit, he could deal with them. But now there's going to be about 10 Lurkers on the field. And that army isn't that well equipped for dealing with them.
I'm actually surprised how Baneling heavy Nerchio went in this game. Like, I understand the initial Banelings just to deal with the Adepts, right? They're great in dealing with Adepts. Yeah. Probably the best unit out there in combination with a couple of Zerglings to trap them. But after that, to make that many Banelings against a player that we all know loves his good old Archon Immortal, that's a massive investment. And Nerchio's played a good game, but suddenly I feel this game is far from over. And with a Mothership on the way, what is going to be Nerchio's answer against all these Immortals?
It's a good question. Very good question here. Still a strong force from him, staving off the attack through the middle here from these Lurkers, especially kind of naked Lurkers that don't really have too much reinforcement. Here's an attack onto the 5th base here. Just focus down the Nexus. Get this, run away. Let's fight another day.
I also love how he got the Oracle. He's like, Oracles are expensive. I'm going to get you a Nexus. Don't worry. I will absolutely get the Nexus. And this is where Nerchio's like, hey, that recall ability you guys got is really good. Can I get one too? Storms do land on a couple of these Lurkers. I mean, this is risky though by Nerchio, because Lurkers are very powerful, don't get me wrong. But exposed Lurkers against that many Immortals and a couple of Archons is very risky.
Yeah, nothing to be able to complement them because everything was focused on the Nexus up towards the top. Now, these Hydralisks are going to die off to quite a few Zealots up at the top. It's kind of trade for trade, but the Hydralisks are far more gas intensive as a unit, of course. So now carriers are going to be entering the fray here for Harstem, who, you know, his economy's starting to get geared back up on those 4th and 5th base that he's trying to get up again.
Carriers are fantastic, but I actually think that Tempest would make more sense in this situation, because I think Tempest would be absolutely phenomenal against everything. Now, the amount of anti-air isn't that high. Do we still have Corrupt? Oh my god, he morphed all of his Corruptors. Okay, well, I guess then carriers are great, because we only have 7 Hydralisks. I thought it was still a bunch of Corruptors as well. Tempests are, you know, very useful, especially if you have Storm too, because Storm will keep the Hydras at bay, and then your Tempest can just wail away from downtown.
I think he started making one Tempest, but then cancelled it in favor of the carriers. So it was an option, and Harstem's, you know, just deciding to go for this across the board. But you're right, now there's going to be quite a bit of anti-air along with these Broodlords, but they don't want to go too far forwards. There's not much to deal with them right now at the range that we're at.
I think Nerchio is going to be very aggressive here, James. I think he knows as well, the more time he gives to Harstem, the more likely it is that Harstem will have a proper counter against these Lurkers and the Broodlords. This one Nexus is going to go down, and I think that Nerchio is going to try to kill the right top as well, and then just kind of be satisfied, you know, then just take the game from there.
Just kind of constrict him from that point on, There's a Tempest on the way, but +2 weapons is on the way as well for the air, but it's kind of a little late at the moment. This army here for Nerchio is doing what it needs to do. The Mothership, as well as this ground force, is going to try and move to a position where they're going to try and deal with this. Storm already goes down on a few of those Broodlords to start off this fight. But here come the Hydralisks as well, trying to get onto one of those carriers.
Oh, one carrier is incredibly low on HP, and it does go down. That's a massive snipe for Nerchio, because now I think there's no way that Harstem can run into that army, which means that Nerchio is going to get the right top side as well. Damn, Nerchio hit a very clutch timing here. If he would have just sat back for another minute, I think Harstem would have absolutely steamrolled his army. Instead, it's Nerchio right now that's starving out Harstem. And you know why I also prefer Tempests over carriers? Tempests are still useful when you're broke, and carriers are not.
That's definitely true. Not much they can do with those at the moment if they're actually just going to sit there in the back without interceptors. There are a few on that one at the moment here, but if the Hydralisks are right next to it at the same time as the fight going on, they're going to get ripped down very, very quickly. Now this third base is under siege, and this is the last bastion of hope here for Harstem.
I'm actually sure, it seems like Harstem doesn't use the idle worker hotkey. You saw for a long time a lot of his probes were just killing next to that Nexus, not mining there, as he's going to try to use the Mothership cloaking ability to maybe get a decent engagement on a few of those Hydras. But there's so many Overseers. Well done by Nerchio. I felt he played a perfect early game. I thought the mid game was questionable, but then when he pushed in with the Lurkers and the Broodlords, that was awesome.
I knew exactly when to hit, and now he's completely destroyed everything in Harstem's economy. Nerchio just needs to reallocate some of his workers as well, but he's got 7 Infestors on the way to complement what he already has at the front. A lot of it's quite weakened, but it's still very powerful.
Yep, I mean, Infestors are great against carriers as well. Those Infested Terrans do an amazing job in killing Interceptors and also killing carriers. I think this is going to be the end as Nerchio takes down the last few air units of Harstem. GG.
Good start to the day. Wow. Nerchio with a very strong showing there. Of course, Harstem kind of valiantly fighting and trying to keep his bases alive throughout that. Unfortunately for him, Nerchio's timings were just very pristine, very precise.
Yeah, it was a beautiful way to start, I think. Like I said, I loved the early game from Nerchio. It felt like he had a really good read on everything that Harstem was doing. I think we have a small update perhaps of our second series as well, as we always keep a close eye on 2 games at the same time, and it feels like somebody really wants us to show us something.
Yeah, we still have Maru versus Teat Drogo. I think the first game concluded.
Yes.
So if we can take a look at exactly what happened towards some of the closing segments of that game, Maru with a lot of Marines was able to seemingly get into a position where he could probably cordon off this army and kind of split up these bases.
Yep, these stim timings are very popular these days. It feels random, right? Why would anybody ever run just that many Marines in? It's like, well, because pros players are greedy and sometimes they're not in position to deal with that amount of stim Marines. There is a force field there that actually is almost, you know, if Drogo doesn't lose more than like 8 or 9 workers, this is not that bad. And I think it's going to only be at 6. So for that amount of Marines, only losing 6 probes, I would normally say is quite acceptable. But I have the feeling there is more on the horizon.
Yeah, maybe. Was this continue? Is this a replay or was this? Yeah,
no, this is definitely, we're looking at highlights or...
yeah, I suppose so, I suppose so. So this continues on, I suppose.
Well, I mean, this is a very fun series, because once again, if you guys are confused, why are we watching Maru in a European qualifier?
Yeah.
It's because this is the European server qualifier. So anybody was able to play and try to qualify for this part of the tournament already. The thing is, Maru is playing from Korea on the European server, so what's his ping going to be? Solid 200, I'd say, at least.
Yeah.
If he's lucky, you know, because that is just not a good connection in general. From Europe to America is quite decent, you know, especially the East Coast. And, you know, from Korea to the West Coast in America, that's also quite decent. But with the way that the internet lines work, I don't really know much about it, James, but I always know that Europe to South Korea and South Korea to Europe, that's not very fast. You're gonna face quite a bit of lag.
Yeah, not the easiest thing to have to deal with, but Our Korean participants feel like they can try and fight against it here. 5 gates going down for Drogo here with the blink and the +1 lining up and
whoa, my God.
Well, that sucks.
Hey, Maru's the one with lag, isn't he?
Yeah. Unfortunately for Drogo, he was really seemingly feeling some lag or something there. That was, yeah, very unfortunate to lose those that we did.
Because especially in this phase in the game where Drogo technically is in a good position, right? You look at the workers, he's on 63 workers. I know he's down on army supply, but bam, you know, that's how Protoss works. You get 6 units, you get 12 supply at a time. If he keeps those oracles alive, he can tag the army, can maybe drop a couple stasis wards. I really feel he would be able to buy a lot of time for himself. Maru is actually going to pull a couple of the boys, not all of them, but quite a few.
Yeah, I can't believe how more popular this has become as of late. It's fantastic to see. I must admit, I love some old school pulling the boys. And it can be very deadly. This could quite easily just finish the game here against Drogo.
He doesn't have charge yet? Okay, so he had quite a few Zealots, but he doesn't have charge. Now he's researching Resonating Glaives instead, but Marus is going to ignore those force fields. He's going to kill a couple pylons. What are we watching, James? Why is there no charge or... It's 8 minutes into the game. There should have been charge or a
Blink on the way, he had Glaives on the way, but beyond that, nothing else, I guess. I mean, or the timing of them didn't work out. The 2 Widowmines haven't even done anything in the back here for Maru. This will be pushed off the ramp at the moment, but that Widowmine gets a big connection to start the fight.
Yeah, both of them actually got very juicy hits, right in the pack of the sentries. Couple sentries did go down, and there is way too much firepower in this Terran army. So Maru, despite playing from the Korean server, I think is going to take a 1-0 lead here.
Impressive stuff to start against Drogo, especially. I mean, Drogo is no pushover by any means. So for Maru to do as well as he has on this kind of latency, at least, it's a very good start for him.
Yep, but I mean, that's the best of 3 as well, so it's definitely not over yet. Drogo definitely with the fighting spirit here. He's like, remember my last entry and these 2 and you've got too much.
Not easy. So Maru with a 1-0 at the moment in the brackets, continuing on. Meanwhile, we are covering Nerchio and Harstem, as Nerchio is currently 1-0 in that series as well. A close back and forth, you know, little bouts of going on, but Nerchio felt quite undeterred, I suppose, apart from a little bit of harassment into what he wanted to do.
Yeah, maybe now that I think about it, for Harstem style, the way that Harstem likes to kind of set up like smaller attacks into bigger attacks, but always have like a backup plan, maybe a slightly smaller map would work out better for him. I think there's a lot of Zergs who love Ascension to Aya, but there's also a couple of Protosses who do love it. It seems like our second map of our first best of 3 of the day is going to be Odyssey, which I think would have not been that bad of a Protoss map if it wasn't for the gold. But we'll see how it plays out. We're looking in the main base of Team Asterions, Harstem. And
down at the bottom right-hand corner, in the red, 1 game up at the moment, it is Nerchio. Futuronix Gaming.
If you guys at home wonder what really does make a map good for a certain race or not, I think the oldest rule you can apply to PvZ is how easy is it for Protoss to go up to 3 bases? Is it wide open? It's a bad map for Protoss. Is it kind of closed off? Can you force field? Can you set up choke points? That is good for Protoss, because 3 bases is all they need.
Yeah.
I think the game has become a lot more complicated over the years than, you know, using that simple logic. But that doesn't mean it's necessarily untrue. And that is one downside of Odyssey as well. A lot of Protoss players just feel that wherever you take your 3rd base, whether it's on the right side of your main or just below your natural, it's always going to be quite open.
Yeah, it definitely is. So, got to be careful, and Zergs in turn are going to try and harass those locations, try and push on to those locations. Spawning pool's already going down for Nerchio with the hatchery on the way as well. Everything's been seen on the other side by Harstem. So he's sitting pretty, getting his wall off, doesn't fear anything just yet.
You know, since this is a smaller map, I would not be surprised at all if Nerchio tries to go up to 3, well, obviously 3 bases, but up to layer as quickly as possible. I'm really expecting a 3-minute, 40-second layer, 51 or 50 or 52 drones, and just Hydra Ling. I don't expect a Bailing Nest, and I also don't expect a Roach Warren. I expect him to just rush out those Hydras. I've played against a couple of the other European Zergs on the ladder every now and then, and you know, normally when I play against Zergs of my level, I'm like, oh, you know, I can deal with that push. I've got enough time. Yeah. And then you run into Lambo, and you're like, okay, where is his army's at my natural? Like, oh my god, it's like it arrives so fast, and it's quite tough to deal with.
Yeah, very much so. Some of these Zergs, they're a bit good at this video game, and they can be terrifyingly so, and Nerchio is one of them. So this probe's going to get down here, spot the 3rd base. No surprises really for the most part. And for Harstem, it's going to be Stargate once again. It's a very normal opener for him.
Now, of course, the build that I just mentioned, I think, is going to fall out of fashion in just a couple of weeks as soon as the new patch hit. Because once again, James, we're going to split up those Hydra upgrades. For the people who are a little bit out of the loop, right now you only need one upgrade for both upsides, technically, of what used to be two upgrades for the Hydra. You get that range and you get the speed. In the future, it's going to be divided over two upgrades once again, but right now it's just one. And that's why certain Hydra link timings are so powerful. Because you get that one upgrade and you can run across the map. And your Hydras are super strong and have range.
Unless we go back to the weird world of TLO and some other Zergs where they get two Hydralisk dens and make them at the same time for a fantastic timing.
At least they have to pay for it then.
That's true.
At least they have to pay for it. You still see it every now and then. Not too long ago, I had a very weird game, right? I started off with like harass and counter-harass and no eco. And suddenly I was like, you know what I should do right now? I should get 2 Twilight Councils on purpose. And people made fun of me. I was like, no, this makes sense because I just need to survive and I need Blink to buy time, but I need Charge for the fight. So I got 2 Twilights. I was like, man, this feels good. This must be how the Zergs feel when they're like, I'm gonna go double Roach Warren, or I'm gonna go double Hydra then. Well, we can go double Twilight, James, and it's amazing.
I like it. You don't see enough of that kind of stuff. The more experimentation style of things to try and get those crisp timings.
Harstem is going up to a lot of gateways. I think he's very worried about the Hydra link timing, and one way to deal with it is that instead of rushing up to 3 bases like Protoss normally does, is just pretend that that's what you want to do, but instead of having the usual 3 gates, actually have 6 or 7 gates. And 7 gates of pure adepts, if those shade on top of a Hydra list army of 51 drones, you can destroy it very, very quickly. And I actually kind of like this on paper by Harstem.
Feeling when you're as good and locked down as Nerchio that you can just get 12 drones out whilst dealing with the Oracle at every single angle. So really well locked down for him. 16 lings on the way. Yeah,
there we go, James. The layer is almost done. We're at 50 drones. 20 Zerglings are on the way. He's taking extra gases. I mean, this is a Hydra link timing. It has it written all over it. And I think that Harstem, with that many adepts, if Harstem should send out 1 probe and just be like, this is a usual game, I'm expanding, then Nerchio is going to commit to it. And then if you have an overwhelming amount of adepts, if Nerchio picks up on this, obviously what he does is like, okay, let's change things. Well, actually, Harstem is going to be the one attacking. I guess that's possible as well, as this is going to hit before the Hydras are out. Or maybe like 1 or 2 are going to be out. This is hard for Nerchio. What do? Do you drop a panic bailing nest? Or are you going to try to defend with Queens and Hydras? I think a spine per base is absolutely necessary. Maybe even evacuate your turret base to make your life a little bit easier.
And there's always the potential that, as you say, 1 or 2 shade forwards there and try and get to those mineral lines and attempt to surround. That's quite a lot of the Queens that he has available, but the Hydralisks have not popped out just yet.
I mean, that's a pretty decent shade, I think, as well. 1 Queen does go down immediately. A couple of Adepts have gone down, but now the Queens are very exposed, and 2 Queens have gone down already. That final Queen does get saved by a Transfuse for a split second, but right now Nerchio has no answer against this insane amount of Adepts from Harstem.
Needs the Lings and the Hydras to pop out right now and get there as fast as possible. Lings are going to be filtering in from every single angle, but they're coming in sporadically and getting gunned down before they can join with the rest of the force. And even these 3 Hydralisks at the top are a little bit vulnerable, but they're just going to have to shade away here, the Adepts, and get around.
Damn, I must say I'm very impressed with how Nerchio did this. In the last 12 seconds of that fight, I feel like he did almost everything right, because I was seeing the same thing as you, James. You see Lings running in 1 by 1. There are still 8, 9 Adepts. Normally, those Adepts just never die. But he had a couple of range units. He still got a little bit of damage out of the Queens. He saved that 1 Queen.
Exactly.
And 8 Adepts became 6, and 6 became 4, and suddenly he can just clean all of them up. Yeah. Well done. What a hold by Nerchio.
The 3 Hydras from the north and from the south in tandem.
Would you say north and the south?
From the north and the south made for 6 Hydralisks, and that was able to put on a lot of extra pressure. So good by Nerchio.
Yep. Unless the Zerg would have died there, guys. It's not easy to defend. How many Adepts was that in total? 14, 15-ish? Can we take a look at the amount of Adepts that have died in this game? Because I really feel it was like
15.
15. Defending against 15 Adepts without a Bailing Nest or a Roach Warren, job well done, Nerchio. I guess that's why you're one of the very best.
With what? I think 2 drones died. Some were made for Spore Crawlers, of course, but that's
amazing.
Impressive.
That's a really, really, really good hold. Now, of course, some people might be looking at this game and be like, well, isn't it still really bad for Nerchio? He's down 6 drones. Zerg should never be down in economy. That is true, but don't forget that Harstem's third base was quite late. And because Harstem made that many Adepts, he also doesn't really have great follow-up tech, right? Like, what is Harstem really working with right now? It's just Sentries and more adepts. Is he gonna? Okay, he does have a Robo Bay. This is gonna start his first Colossus, but we all know Colossus need upgrades and Colossus need thermal lens too.
That's right. I mean, the Forge has only just gone down now to try and get those upgrades pumping eventually. So that will be on the way in a bit. And as you say, you know, there could be even some threat towards the Protoss as Nerchio's starting to move out into the middle of the map here with this Ling Hydra Force.
Yeah, sentries are going to be important. This is nice, though, for Nerchio. He got 2 adepts on the north side of the map. Now he gets 1 in the middle as well. And these things do stack up. Behind this, Nerchio is droning. 16 additional drones and the Lurker then. Lurkers, of course, fantastic units against Colossus. Nerchio's going to go for a run-by. Is it open? No, the gates are not open.
No, that Stalker, that fabled Stalker with 4 health last game. Oh, if he got a Colossus, though, that'd be amazing, but it's not going to be the case.
No, but now he is actually kind of out of position, so that means a couple of dead pylons. Look at these bays, James!
Oh, no. Oh, he's going to get so much.
No,
oh, they walked
he
past.
Missed.
They walked. Why did they walk past?
I don't know.
Oh, no. That could have been massive for Nerchio. And now he's just going to do a bit of damage and lose a lot of Hydralisks.
Yep, I mean, he is going to have a little bit of a run by a couple of veins in the natural, so probes will die. And it's not all bad news, but instead of 15, that should have shown us 27 dead probes, I think.
Yeah, it really should have. These Lings and Hydras still being annoying in the main, and they will get 19 workers, 20 workers in total, but... Oh, talk about missed opportunities.
I was ready for the explosion.
So
I was ready to go for the puck champs, you know, like, let's go. And it's like, oh my, why does this never happen in my ladder games, by the way? Like, let me just guarantee you that every Zerg above 5,300 gets all of them, James. I guess Nerchio was busy setting up his second attack, right, into the natural, so he probably just looked away for a split second. Still, I think he's in an okay position. As long as Harstem doesn't attack him right here and right now, I think Nerchio's in a good position because he was droning up behind this and he's got all the additional attack on the way. And Colossus are great, but Colossus are great against Zerglings, Banelings and Hydras. But now you've got the Lurkers and that's where you need Immortals, which obviously means Nerchio gets extra time and then eventually Nerchio can get an answer against the Immortals again.
A great moment down to the bottom left when the Zealots realized they didn't have charge and they couldn't go after the Hydralisks. So Harstem starts charge and we can have Storm on the way as well.
I realize every day I don't have charge when I walk outside, James. When I was young, I used to have charge.
That's right. We've lost that speed, unfortunately. That's 3 Colossi complementing this army now. So strong stuff in the middle for Harstem. What's he going up against? Ling, Hydra, some Lurkers in the mix.
Yeah, but just these couple Lurkers are right. There's nothing in the army of Harstem that kills a Lurker really fast. So even if he would right-click on one of them, like 3 Colossus and 8 Adepts are not going to one-shot a Lurker. So it's going to be problematic. I think keeping this fort base alive is going to be impossible because he's out of position. I mean, Harstem is running. He's going to do his absolute best here, but those... Oh, Hydras, what are you doing?
Yeah, Lurker's already burrowed there.
And now these, I mean, the Colossus can actually take a shortcut, or at least he can protect it a little bit. I mean, this is good Colossus positioning, actually, by Harstem.
It's not easy for the Hydralisks to get right on top of them. The Lurkers are trying to stop them from going up that cliff edge. You can see it, but will force the cancel. Hydralisks too far out of range.
Look at this. I mean, Nerchio was already trying to attack the other potential fort base as well. There isn't one, though. But man, Nerchio is good in splitting up his units, isn't he?
Yeah, he really is. He was just potentially greeting that base up towards the top, realizes it's not there, so he can just go on another angle.
And now he's making Mudas, and I wonder if he's going to continue making Mudas. I know that a lot of Zergs always say, like, no, it's not worth it, you know, when they can already make Archons and stuff, you just don't want to do that. But I think this would be a perfect game to actually try to go up to 18 or 20 Mutalists, because these Stalkers don't even have Blink yet.
Where are these Lings going? They're running to the wall, and they really didn't do much. I suppose it was the distraction for this attack down towards the bottom, but as you say, Harstem's got a good split himself.
I'd like to see more Mudas, James. I really do.
Yeah?
Come on, give me 8 more Mudas. I think you can just fly all those Mudas into the main, and at that point it becomes such an awkward game. There is nothing worse in the world of a Protoss player to defend against Mudas without Blink Stalkers and without Phoenix.
Yeah, it's really, really difficult. I mean, you've got the Constellation Storm defense, but even that's not great because you're going to end up storming some of your own units, and they will get out of it fast. So, and no cannons to speak of either. Stalker's desperately warping in now in this mineral line, but already 6 workers gone. Could get more if he wants.
Yep. We see the other warp in is being used over there as well. He's like, oh, cool. That means that I can fly to the other mineral line that's quite exposed. And look at these Mudas go. They already got 15 probes just like that. There's one Archon that actually can't win the fight. I think both players are paying attention to the armies in the middle of the map. Nerchio's playing such a good best of 3 here.
I feel like he just selected all of his army then and then moved it because that Archon is moving across the map to the rest of the army now just to put on pressure. I mean, he's probably just given up on these bases. He feels like he has to go right now.
Yeah, but running into creep. Look at this. Nerchio coming in from every angle.
Yeah, that's almost 270 degrees there. Baneling's going to come in from all sides. They're going to crash into everything. Wow. And that is GG Nerchio. Whew.
Wow, auto destruction in that final moment. If you're a Zerg player, that makes your heart beat just a tiny bit faster. Beautiful. I mean, what a game again. I love the tech switches. I love the mobility. I love how Nerchio splits up his unit. I feel this is what people always want StarCraft to be all about, right? People have always been critical